This is an interview on the 30th of October 2004 with Dick Secker, V48107, 39th Battalion, C Company, 14 Platoon. Well, Dick, how did you come to join the Army?
Nailed in for universal training. Went into the 90 days at Mount Martha with the 58th Battalion. And after around about a month there, they transferred us up to Travel. We were on Hillside 29, and we're up there for a week or two or three, and they called for volunteers to go to the 39th. And Sid Gray and I decided we were going to go. Went and knocked us off for dinner, and we went and put our names down. Went to put our names down, and Val Kerr said, "Where are you blokes going?" "We're going to the 39th. He said, "Well, I'm coming with you." So he just dropped his gear, and when we got to the tent, the company commander's company office tent, he couldn't pull up. We bumped us straight into the tent. Well, the company commander said, "What do you blokes want?" And we said, "We want to go to the 39th. And he said, "You're not going." He said to Sid, he said, "There'll be promotions coming out next Tuesday." And he said, "You've been in for 2 stripes." He said, "Well, that's the worst thing you could have done, tell me that." And he said to me, "Well, talk sense to him, will you?" He said, "Because you're going in for stripes the next week." And I said, "You've got no bloody advocate to me now." So, and then he wasn't going to take our names, and wasn't going to let us go. And I said, "Well, I know where the Colonel's tent is, and if you don't put our name down, we'll go and have a talk to him." And he said, "You wouldn't dare." And I said, "Well, don't try us." And so he put our names down for it, and that was it for a week or so, and then we went over to the 39th.
So how old were you?
20.
And who are your mates that you remember at the time?
Sid Gray was there, and Val Kerr, he used to live next door to us in Pascoe Vale. And that's Sid Halen. He was, we'll show you a photo of him after, when he was about 19 or 20. And
you all went across to the 39th?
Yeah.
You all volunteered?
No, I think there was around about 30 of us went from the 58th Battalion, but we stopped overnight at Caulfield. They let us give us a leave pass to go home. We're back by midnight, and next morning was on the train up to Darley, and the Colonel and all the company commanders and second-in-commanders companies were there to meet us till they marched us out to Darley. And we were spread all over the place. It was a day or so to settle in, and then it was on training to go away to the 39th, and go away to New Guinea, and Boxing Day, I think. Yeah, Boxing Day we took off in the morning, and I think I'm not sure whether we marched into Darley or whether they bussed or trucked us in. And but they would have had to truck the gear in, because you no way in the wide world would have carried that in that far. What do you remember about the camp at Darley? What was it like? It was all huts, and the mess huts were all like fairly lumpy, but they were spread over. Well, I reckon the battalion would have been spread over 20 acres. So it was a big camp. Yeah, it was. It was the 4th Training Battalion for the 4th Training Battalion camp area for the AIF folks, but then they put us up there and trained us. And I think the AIF... Our jungle training was in the wide open spaces between Darley and it's over towards Diggers Rest. It didn't get quite over to Diggers Rest, but it was in that general area, and it was as flat as the tack. What do you remember about what sort of things you did for your training? How do you mean? How did you train? Rifle shooting, marching? They did a bit of on the range occasionally, get out on the range, but it's mainly mock battles. Mock battles, yeah, they're on the town. Yeah. Then they had one later on with the Battle of Karingam. I think that was a 4-day job, and never looked at bully beef or never looked at baked beans for years after that thing, because we ate baked beans till they come out of our ears, and that was all over the Western District. God, we covered some miles on that thing in the back of the trucks. coming home, we finished up, we come home through Bacchus Marsh and down to Darley, and then it was out and back into training again. But I think we were supposed to be fighting the AIF, but we never seen them. Whether we got lost or what, we never seen anyone.
Did you feel any conflict between the AIF and the militia?
There was then. Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
Oh, they were volunteered to go away and fight. We were only chocos with, well, more or less conscripts going in to do a bit of service. But the thing of the bulk of those blokes were over the age of 21 and could do what they wanted to do. But a lot of us, many of us, there was a number of our blokes who were over the 30, not over it, well over the 21. And
do you remember who your sergeant or your lieutenant was at the time?
Yeah, Lieutenant Whelan was in charge of us. He came from the 5th, the Scottish Regiment. Bill Corcoran was the sergeant. He came from I'm pretty sure he came from the 29th.
Yeah. And they were good blokes.
Yeah. And, wherever the loot said we're going, if he said we're going somewhere, well, we're going. And that was a bloody end of it. No arguing the point. Everyone, there was no doubt that he wants to go, we'll go with him. So.
Did you hear that you'd be going to New Guinea?
Yeah, when they called for volunteers to go to New Guinea, they said it'll be either Rabaul or Darwin.
Did you think you'd see active service, or
no?
What did they tell you?
Well, they just said that we're going up there as a garrison, well, you never knew what was coming, but it was there. When it was get away from the place, but we couldn't join the AIF until we were 21, so to go that way.
And I suppose being 20 and, you're probably thinking of it as an adventure.
Oh, yeah, well, that'd be it. You're looking for a bit of get away to do something, a bit of experience, I suppose. That was when we knocked off, and then, when it was on the battalion parade, when we come back off that, when we broke off for dinner, when we had dinner and had the argument with the company commander, and back out, when they came back on parade after dinner, they told us it would be Port Moresby for sure.
Right.
And if it had gone to Rabaul, they could have been mangled us up instead of the 20, where they tied up, got into the second 22nd.
Do you remember the trip up on the train up to Sydney?
Yeah. All day and all bloody night.
What'd you do? Have a couple of sing-songs? And
it's too far back to try and remember.
I think the train stopped at Albury or something.
It stopped at Albury and then changed trains at Albury.
And did you remember the side of Sydney Harbour when you boarded the Aquitania?
Yeah, we were down on G deck, and C Company was in G deck. It was 27 feet below water, they told us. And the crew bloke said, well, if we're unlucky enough to get torpedoed, and they will just seal that off. And so if you're in that area and it goes on, you don't get killed, you'll be chopped off anyway. So.
Do you remember much about the daily life on the Aquitania?
No, not really. It was more or less relaxed, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but much about it. But
I believe you were thinking of getting a tattoo.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. There was two of us were going to get tattooed, and old Jack Flanagan said, "You're not getting tattooed," and that's the end of it. And I said, Jack never let us out of his sight all. I don't think we were ever out of his sight, only the time when we were all sleeping. He made sure we didn't get no tattoo on it. So
there was one of the boys giving tattoos to the other boys.
Yeah, no, one of the crew blokes. They're an English. They're an English crew, and we asked one of them one morning where we were, and he said, "Well, if we keep going this direction for another 8 hours, you'll see New Zealand." That was towards the evening, and in the morning, but through the night they just turned and went straight north, and we had. I think there was 2 cruisers and 2 destroyers. Well, one
ships.
There was
and a couple of destroyers.
Yeah, we had there was Airbus. I can't remember now. But there was 1 or 2 cargo boats, and I think there was I've got an idea it was the Australia in the Canberra there, and there were 2 destroyers as well.
As escorts.
And then one morning, I reckon it was the heaviest escorted boat that ever went out of Sydney.
Oh. Do you roughly remember how many troops were on it? I think they talked about, 4,000 or something.
There could have been around about that because there was air mob, the 53rd, there was artillery, anti-aircraft, you name it. There was nearly nothing in New Guinea, and then what it all went there, other than the 49th Battalion, that's about all was there. Then.
Do you remember when the Aquitania pulled up at Port Moresby?
Yeah. How
did you feel?
And, well, at least we're here now. They can't sink us now. We came off on the New Zealand destroyer, the Achilles, or Achilles or whatever they've been. That was involved with that's it, in South America, sinking the German Grafs B in the River Platte. He said one morning there was a American battleship on the horizon. When we got level with Thursday Island, there was either one or two corvettes come out, and they just kept working across us.
They zigzagged across. Mm.
One day or one morning there was it felt like the boat had hit something, and there was a hell of a shudder, and you should have seen the smoke come out of that one of those cruisers. Jesus, and they spun round and they just went backwards and forwards like that over that thing for about an hour. We were well into they're looking well back to see them, and I've never seen anyone move so fast as that. Those Navy blokes. Geez, they shifted.
You disembarked at Port Moresby, and where were you told that you were going to be, and what actually happened when you disembarked? Where did you go?
When we got the battalion off, got them all together, then we marched out to the 7 Mile Drome.
Do you remember much about the march?
Oh, you were just about had enough by the time we got out there, and another 7 miles after the day on the boat. It
would have been pretty hot?
No, it was towards the evening. It didn't get real hot that night. When we got out there, they said, right, they pulled up and they said, right, this is your camp area for the night, or for a day or two.
And what was there?
Nothing. The 7 Mile Run was over, but you couldn't see it by the time we got out. So they said, just dig a little hole, little hip hole, and go to sleep for the moment.
I bet you didn't sleep.
I sleep, but I go to bed to sleep, not to lay awake.
And were there mozzies and everything like that?
Oh yeah, the mozzies, and you'd pinholes the next morning where they'd been at you all over. Well, there was plenty of mosquitoes there, don't worry. And we must have been there probably. Could have been a week, and then they shifted us out onto the the far side of Bootless Bay, getting out towards Mirrigetta Mission and Tuppersley Village.
And they had the platoons all split up?
Yeah, they was all over the place. We were the company headquarters was at the mission, and we were about a mile and a half away from it. Might have been a bit more. And then 13th platoon was about a mile round from us, and then 15th platoon was round a little bit further. We used to have to patrol every day, go out to the Mirrigetta Mission to make sure to the Tuppersley Village to make sure that the natives didn't signal any signal signs to the Japs if they come over, and we had to be over there night time. Yeah, had a night and day patrol, but the natives built a hut for us. They said, if a Jap comes over, you get in there. We don't want them seeing you blokes here. They'll bomb us.
And how'd you get on? Well, how'd you get on with the natives?
We got on real well. They were good.
Did they look after you with any food?
Well, we took our own. We always had our own tucker with us, but we had.
What was your camp like?
We just tents here and there on a ridge. We had an observation post away up on top of the hill, and the passwords used to be sent around there one night. And password come through, and Balturgi picks it up off the phone and screams out. We were about 200 yards further down to where we were camped, and he bellows out, "Mr. Whelan, the password's so-and-so." I forget what it was, and everybody just bellowed this, what the password was.
So everybody knew the password.
So they quick smart changed the password around, because they used to get the password and bring it down. Because there was a section up there all the time, and whoever was up there, they would get the password. So then the colonel decided that he could see a light at night, and we could see battalion headquarters, but we could see Barracow village too in the distance with binoculars. But they'd have seen a light at night. But he could see this light down there, and when out there he could see it, because he kept saying, and the boys were saying that there's nothing there. There's no lights. And he said there is lights. So Mr. Whelan went up and he said, well, we'll find out where these bloody lights are. So he went up and he stayed there all night. And he sat up all night. He was walking. The next day he was just about walking on his unconscious. And he rang back the next morning and he said, I've been up there all night and haven't had a wink of sleep, and there's no lights. There is a light, you'll have to go. So away we went and we patrolled down to there and had a look at it. And, no sign of lights. The police boy wanted to know what was wrong, and we told him. And he said, right, you fellas go and have a sleep up there on top of that hill where the mosquitoes will get away from you. I'll look after the camp tonight. So anyway, the lieutenant said, you can do the guard. He said, but he said to us, he said, it's all right for him down there looking after it. He said, but we'll have a guard up here just in case there is a light on. Anyway, no signs of light. The next morning, they offered to take us to Boater's home, like to Shepherd's home. They reckon that was a good idea, because we say get home a lot quicker than by walking. You had to put the lights. I think there was two sections. Yeah, there was two sections of 14 platoon went. They got us on a lacquer tour and they went straight out to sea. Not us on it was just a straight line. And one of them, it must have been the bloke in charge of the boat. He said something where none of us knew anything, but they just changed course. They went straight back in, and it was just like that, like a V. And it was straight, and they ran straight into that creek that ran up to where we were camped. And she said, it was like an hour going out there and an hour coming back in again.
So there's no light? You didn't find
no light, no, there was no light there. Mm-hmm. So they finally convinced the colonel that he was seeing things.
Who were your mates at that time? Who were you camped with in your tent? Was it?
Oh, we were in separate little. We had a tent. Each section had a tent, but we got to get out of the heat, and we made the natives made us little, like little tents.
Yeah. And who was your mate at that time?
Sid Gray was the mate all the way right through. And,
what sort of training? Other training did you do? Did you do any rifle shooting or?
Oh, we one time we had they put up shields away 600 or 700 yards away from the shooting at them, and that was about the only shooting we did. But we'd done a lot of digging. I reckon we dug enough trenches. If they'd have pulled the plug out, and one would have sunk that harbour, sunk that island. How
did you feel when the first air raid started at Port Moresby and the first bombs fell? Did you get a shock?
No, well, we were a long way out from. We could hear we heard the planes go over and heard the bombs.
But you didn't actually get bombed?
No. We were nowhere. They bombed Moresby, I suppose. Oh, we'd have been probably 20 miles away from Moresby at the time. Mightn't have been quite that far, but getting on towards 20 miles.
But you'd still have an air raid warning?
No, there was no air out there.
Nothing? You didn't bother?
No. You didn't hear. You heard them coming. Well, you'd be looking when you seen them, and you'd be get out the road. And,
yeah.
One night, Jim Lakey, the air raid on, and he jumped into a slit trench. There's a bloody snake in it. There's not enough room for him, and the snake wouldn't get out, so we kicked it to death.
I believe you were on the McJoy the first time it was bombed.
Yeah, the old Darky and I were on with put into C13 platoon to go and give them a hand. Our blokes were duty plane. Anyway, when the plane comes, when they put the alert on and said it was a rain, everybody, we were unloading petrol, we ordered all out. And anyway, Darky and I were up watching over, looking at where they were coming from. We saw the planes coming, and Darky, we always thought that when you can look straight above you, they won't hit you. The bombs will go for it. And then anyway, we were leaning well back, and Darky said, they're not going to hit us. We'll go on the other side and see what happens, where they landed. We were about halfway across the boat, and all hell broke loose. He went like that, and then Darky said, hit the deck. And you didn't have to be told hit the deck. You couldn't help it. Down you went, clop. And there was a swish over the top of us, and the next thing a bloke screamed, and then that as turns out a sheet of glass was cut, and they just cut the artery. They got him in before they stopped the artery from bleeding, but it didn't. And then when we looked around, and there's pools of water, I suppose about a chain across, little fields of flat patch where all the bombs had landed, but one went straight through the bridge. And the captain sitting, and there was a bloke on a Bren gunner that went in between them and it just went straight down, but the captain was directing the boat to try and get away from the Japs, and this bloody boom went through it, because we were on deck and went through on the third deck down in the dining room, and Captain McLeod was killed.
About this time, did you get word through from the upper ranks that the Japanese were getting closer?
No, they came on to up around Salamoa, and we knew all about that, but with no idea them coming to
Gona
over the Gona or any there, and then they suddenly decided that they might, so they decided to send a battalion round there and put a battalion over there in case. And that's when they started, and they walked B Company over, and then B Company was over there at Kokoda when the Jap landed at Gona. But C Company was about halfway across walking, and Don Company was just about to walk. Some of them, they were going to fly the battalion in. They reckon C Company was too far forward to bring them back and fly them over. By the time we walked back to Moors, we would have been at Kokoda. And but they were going to fly the rest of the battalion over. But one plane or two planes got down. There was a platoon and a little bit low, and then the Yanks heard a shot fired, and they wouldn't put them down. I heard one officer say, and was at Denicky, and looked over and he said, "Oh, well, that's Kokoda." He said, "I've seen it now," but he said, "I saw it from the air, and the rotten bloody Yanks wouldn't put it down." So we flew over it and then flew back and had to walk over.
How'd you feel when you were walking up the track, knowing that you were going to meet the Japanese?
Well, we didn't know it at the time.
You didn't know?
C Company did. None of us knew for a start. Don Company blokes probably would have, because they were...
So you weren't actually told that you were going to meet...
No, we were going over there just in case anything happened. We would be there if the Jap landed.
You must have got a terrible shock.
You got a hell of a shock, and they rang up at 5 o'clock in the morning at Efogi and said, "The Japs have landed and they're attacking B Company and they're in serious trouble. They want help."
How'd you feel?
Oh, well, we've got to get down there and help. And Captain Dean hauled us all out of bed and said, "Righto, breakfast, we're going." And we were to go to Cargie, but we finished up going through to Eora Creek to get up to B Company.
What do you remember about walking up the track? What it was like?
Oh, it was all up, or it was either straight up or straight down, or almost straight up.
And the jungle, what was the jungle like?
Oh, I don't know. It's they talk about the Tarzan in his jungle, and the Tarzan in the jungle. There was none of that fancy stuff swinging on loops. It was as thick as...
Thick?
It was a thick, yeah, it was very thick.
And you didn't get off the track too far, otherwise you'd get lost.
And if you got off the track too far, you'd get lost, yeah.
Do you remember the river crossings?
Oh, some of them, yeah, you waded across them, but I don't remember a lot of the river crossings, but there was times that it's getting a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Some of them are hard to remember, and others not so bad.
What did you wear when you were on the track? What was your uniform like?
Just a shirt and pair of shorts or long trousers. Might put long trousers on at night time, but daytime it was all shorts.
Did it get cold at night?
Around Moresby it didn't get cold at night, but in the hills it did. It got very cold.
And there would have been like a mountain mist also.
Yeah, the mountain mist came in at times. Not all the time, but just depended where you were. But once you got up high, it got bloody cold, to put it blunt.
Did you get much rain in the jungle at night?
Oh, it could, yeah, but you weren't going to rain. It could rain any time, day and night.
You would have been...
Mostly in the afternoon and in through the night.
You would have been wet a lot of the time.
You were wet from time to time. You'd get the sun to dry you out, and then in the morning, the sun would dry out, and then in the late, and 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then come the rain again, if it didn't rain all day. So.
What sort of food did you have?
Mainly tin tucker, bully beef, meat and veg. Or a bit of tin fruit. That's about all.
Do you remember any times where you never had supplies?
Well, the times that you were... the tucker got a bit scarce, but not... old Fuzzy Wuzzy seemed to make sure we got it. They kept bringing it up.
How'd you find the Fuzzy Wuzzies on the track?
They were angels. That was the best thing they could ever have been, and we'd have never got there without them.
They carried in your food and your ammunition?
Well, they carried everything in, and they carried the wounded out. They were terrific. The government couldn't have done enough for them. I don't think they did anything for them, but they should have.
Did you still have the same sergeant and lieutenant when you're up on...
We had... No, the sergeant, we didn't have him when we went up the track. Well, I don't know where he got to, but we didn't have him anymore. And we had the same officer, and he was killed.
Who was that?
Lieutenant Whelan.
He was killed?
He was killed at on Huggins Roadblock.
That was later on?
Yeah, after Gona. He went through the... He was with us right through the Owen Stanley ranges. And... then they went over to Gona with us and went through Gona, and then Gona and west of Gona, where Hattie's village was, and then went up to Huggins Roadblock, and he was killed there, burst of machine gun fire, and he got hit there, and it was either 2 or 3 other of the fellows were wounded. There were 4 or 5 of them standing together, and I'd been just given the password and said, take the password round to all the 14th platoon, and I just said to one tent or one pit, password so and so, and I ran off, and the bloke just grabbed me and brought me into the pit with them, and that was the only shots that were fired, just one short burst, and we had 1 killed and 2 wounded. I've got a clip there just above the elbow. I'm not sure where the other bloke got, but there was 3 of them. 3 casualties anyway.
I'll just go back to Kokoda, when you'd walked up and down over the mountains, and you joined B Company and 16 platoon of D Company. What was the first actions that you remember when you joined up with the rest of the battalion? You were under heavy attack by the Japanese.
No, not at that time. They'd have been into B Company and part of Don Company at Kokoda.
Do you remember the first time that you met the Japanese?
By the time we got up, B Company and Don Company had been pushed out of Kokoda, and they were at Deniki, and that's where we struck.
And you joined them there?
Yeah. Then the battalion eventually got together, and that's the first time it was together from after leaving Darley.
And your action was pretty much retreating all the time, because there was a battalion of Australians and probably maybe 5 or 6 battalions of Japanese. You're always outnumbered and always being pushed back. Do you remember the first time you actually saw your first Japanese? What did you feel?
Well, I don't know, the first one I seen was dead. Well, bloody hell, I thought they were little fellas, but he'd been here, if he wasn't 6 foot, he wasn't an inch. And there were some biggies among them, but we had like a lot of other people thought, the Japs got horn-rimmed glasses, big buck teeth, and little blokes about 5 foot high. I never seen one of them. There was none of them about. There were some biggies. So there was some were small, but they weren't that small like the ones that you had that impression of them. No. Everybody thought they were little fellas, but.
And you fought for a couple of weeks until you were pushed back to Ishurava. Do you remember Ishurava at all?
Yeah.
and you dug in there. The Australians decided that was it. They were going to dig in.
Yeah. They went back to Isharava rest house from Deniki, and then the next morning they went forward and went forward to Isharava.
Do you remember digging in there?
Yeah.
You didn't have any shovels or anything?
Dig with a vein of the tin hat or anything.
And do you remember the conditions, what the conditions were like there? Was it raining?
No, that's when it would rain. It would rain every afternoon. And you'd dry out in the morning, with the sun would dry in the morning, and the rain would wet you through the night, or your own warmth. You'd possibly get dry from the warmth of your body if you could get out of the rain.
I think you were dug in there for about 4 days, waiting to be...
Yeah, they were there for a little while, waiting for the Jap to come up, but they were out patrolling all the time, see where he was. Then he started. See, Deniki village, he came up one day and had us hit at him, and they beat him off. So the next day he came up and had a bit of a digger there, but he went round to the side, kept going to the sides. He kept doing that. He hit you and then spread. So they was pick up so get in behind, around behind you. But they come in one morning to put on a big turnout. But unknown to them, machine gun company had come up the night before, and they popped them up where they reckon the Jap could reckon he could get round. Well, then he walked into them, and all hell broke loose when he got in there. Then they decided that Major Cameron was in charge, and he decided that they were going to get round us. So we better get out, and they went back to Isharava. And the best part of the day getting back there, and we're at Isharava rest house, and then the next day they came forward, and that's where they set up and said, well, that's where we're going to have the next argument with him. So
you would have been pretty tired by this time. You'd been...
Oh, you were starting to get tired then.
You'd been in the area about 5 or 6 weeks. How did you manage to sleep?
I think it was you get dog tired and you'd sleep. You could have slept walking around, I think. Just a matter of where you could get your head down at night time, and you're on and off guard all through nights, and you didn't. Once the Jap was there, you'd be asleep for an hour, a couple of hours, and you'd wake your mate, and then he'd have it. You would or 2 or 3 couple of hours on and off. Couple on, a couple off all night.
How did you feel when you were finally relieved by the 2nd 14th when the AIF came to help? What happened then at Isharava?
When they arrived there.
When they arrived, you thought you were going to be relieved.
Yeah, well, they said, the bloody chocos are old, and well, we'll have them back and going in a week. Little did they know that in that week they was going that way, backwards. But they didn't run away. They was just the numbers of them just pushed them away, and that was it. They couldn't hold them.
I think there was that many. The numbers were just...
No, they were getting too big.
10 to 1.
With big numbers, all right. And then when the AIF came in a day at a time, same as we walked over a day at a time, because they didn't have room to...
Oh, so some troops came in one day and then more troops came in the next day.
Because they didn't have anywhere where they could stage a battalion. And the villages weren't big enough to hold them. So they walked them in a company at a time. They were quite happy to see them, I tell you. We knew they were coming, but we didn't know when. And they said, well, we didn't know who was coming. They just said, there's troops coming to help you. So.
You were greatly outnumbered, and did it get down to hand conflict?
Oh, it did at times with some of them, but not. There'd be an odd one break through, but to get close. But it was mainly. But there was a lot of, not a lot of that hand to hand. But at odd times there'd be some of them that would get out. Yeah, there'd be patches.
Do you remember the night you withdrew from Isharava? I think it was late at night, perhaps 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not sure what time we pulled out of it. I remember when we came out, but I can't remember.
And I think by this time Colonel Honour was in charge.
Yeah, he was there. It was just starting when Colonel Honor walked in. But apparently he'd been in Darwin with a brigade. He was in the 18th. He was in 2nd, 11th. I think they were in the 18th Brigade, but I'm not sure. No, 19th Brigade. 19th Brigade. And they were over in Darwin. And they, according to the book, they said that they just said, promote him colonel and said, your battalion's in trouble in the Owen Stanley Ranges. Get over there as quick as you can.
Yeah. And he was a good man.
Oh, he was good, all right, yeah.
When you went back down the track towards Port Moresby, I think you got to Minari.
Yeah, that's when he had his first battalion parade.
And you had a big parade and he thanked everybody. Do you remember this general state of the battalion?
Then?
There wouldn't have been that many left walking?
I'm not sure. I think there was about 80 or 90 of them. There might have been more, but we heard there was only 80 of us left, 80 of them left. That's when Damien Pera took his film that he put over the ad on the pictures. I saw it when a mail comes through. We used to get mail like letters every couple of days, but papers used to come through occasionally. It used to be funny that you might have got 3 or 4 of the Women's Weekly. And I might have got something else, and they were all around. Well, or some of them, they'd be scattered, so they'd sort them all out. Well, the Women's Weekly was all put in a heap. Right, you read them, and there were different ones all wherever they were. Didn't matter whose papers they were all piled together, and they just went round. You read them all, and then you passed it on to get. And I saw that picture in the there at bloody hell, that's our fellas, and I cut it out and sent it home to Mum, and I said. And she said, we saw that wrote back and said we saw it on the pictures the other night and didn't realise who it was, didn't recognise it.
That's the famous photo at Minari that you're in, which is mainly C Company 14 platoon.
No, there's all platoons, but ones that are in the photo. Mostly, the blokes with felt hats on are all C Company. The ones that are in the side of the photo, like on the right hand side of it with the tin hats, they were D Company, I think.
Yeah.
But C Company, or the fellows that were with the felt hats, they were all C Company.
Yeah. Your D Company had the tin hats on because they were some of the ones that had flown over.
Yeah, either B, I know it was either B or D Company. I think B Company probably would have had felt hats. They might have took the tin hats over with them, but I doubt it. I think they'd been felt hats.
You had a couple of weeks rest at Minari, and what happened there?
No, we didn't have a rest.
You didn't have a rest?
They only have days. I think we were only there a day. I think we came in one night and then...
And where did you go after that?
We kept working our way back and finished up at Moresby.
Finished up back at Moresby?
Then we had a spell then for a while and reclothed and fed up and...
How much weight did you lose?
Oh, I'm not sure what weight it was. We lost I think we all lost a bit of it, but...
I think you all lost about 3 stone, I think.
I don't know what we lost, but it got built up again, so...
Did you get letters from home?
Oh, there was occasionally letters come through from home, and one at Nauru village, I think they'd dropped parcels. By the time we got back to them, there was, I got half of one of mine, but it looked like the Jap was going to take the place, so they just said, well, whoever was there just cleaned up the parcels that were around. They didn't wait for anyone they didn't know when we were going to be there. Come back and Blake said there was 3 of your parcels there for you, but he said just they've been gone through, so we got half of one, and 3 of us cleaned that up. But,
So after you've been at Port Moresby, what happened then? Where did they send you?
When I was out onto Bootless Bay digging weapon pits again. And, that's where old Darky Wilkinson showed me how to load up the detonators to put in the jelly. He said, you bite them on it. He said, when you want to put the few to bite it, he said, just get hold of the detonator and make sure that your fingers cover them so that when you bite the end of it, you don't bite the detonator, because if you do, it'll be the last bloody thing you'll do. So I learned how to do that one very smartly. he was a man and a half, that old Darky Wilkins, and he was like a father to a lot of us.
By this time, the Japanese had slowed their push forward and they were actually withdrawing.
Yeah, they were on the way back then, yeah. They got to Sharava, but they didn't come any further.
And where were you sent then? Were you sent up to Gona and Buna?
After they got them back over there, they were running short of troops, so they sent our at the 30th Brigade over, and our blokes went. They sent our fellas up to Gona, and
were you still in the 39th?
Yeah,
and you flew over.
Yeah, we flew over. Yeah,
where did you fly to?
Papua.
And who was your lieutenant then? Do you remember?
Yeah, Lieutenant Whelan. He was still with us.
Until he was killed.
He was killed. We done Gona West. We're up on the Emboga River. We always called it Gona West, and then they took us back. We guarded artillery for a little while, and then they shot us forward to. I think we went to Huggins Roadblock, and then after that come back to Garden Artillery, or the other way around. I'm not sure which, I forget now.
So how long were you up there in that area?
We went up around about 7 weeks, I think.
That's 7 weeks.
About the middle of 8th or 9th, I think they attacked Gona. We were up there 3 or 4 days before that. Be early December until towards the middle of January.
And what was the fighting like up there in that area?
It was Gona it was.
The Japanese were dug in.
Oh, they were dug in. Yeah, they had them. I think if it hadn't been for Colonel Lyon waking up to go down through the jungle, it'd have been still. The authorities would have been still pouring troops into it if they could have got enough supplies to come up. Oh, they said, you will attack, you'll take the open village. Colonel Lyon got sick of that, so he said, well, just a minute, we'll let me have a go at it, and I'll take Gona for you if you let me go. And they said, well, all right, go. We went and took it. But the way the authorities were sending to just go in there over the wide open spaces.
Mm-hmm.
That bloody MacArthur, all he was interested in killing men. He didn't worry about anything else.
What did the men think of Blamey?
If I told you what they think of Blamey, it'd probably melt that camera.
Enough said. The Australians would have.
It's a wonder when he told them up in Kokoda, when he had to go up that 21st Brigade on Kokoda, up at Koitaki. It's a wonder but I don't know. It's got me. I've often thought, how the hell didn't some of them shoot him? But probably because they mightn't have had any. They might have had
bullets left.
He's a lucky man to get out of there alive, I think. The wonder the 21st Brigade didn't shoot him properly.
When you're at the end of your campaign at Gona and Buna, how many of you were left?
32 or 3 or 4, I'm not sure which. There was. It took them 2 days to take us over and 2 aeroplanes to bring us back 7 or 8 weeks later. And
I believe you were the last 2 out of C Company.
Yeah, there was 2 of us on that morning.
Tell me about that.
Oh, the fella that was with me, there was just 2 of us, but there was about half a dozen of us to finish, and we were all arguing that we all reckoned we were going to be the last one out. Valeria got him, or something got him anyway. It finished up, wound up, there was 2 of us left. And I thought I still think his name was Alan Blackwell, but they can never find out what the name was. There was a Blackwell in it for the 39th, but it wasn't him, he was a Victorian. This bloke was in New South Wales. He came from the 53rd. And he had a boil just there under his ankle. And he could hardly walk. And the doctor said, round here, anyone that was, they wanted a truck to take him out, and they said, no, you're not supplied with trucks, so if you want to go, you'll have to walk out. And anyone that falls out along the road, we'll pick up. Well, that was, no one fell out, but Alan wanted to walk out, and the doctor said, you can't. Well, he said, I'll crawl out. And And I said, well, if he can't, we'll piggyback him out. We'll get him out. And he said, no, he's got to go out by transport. He said, he can't. He said, I can't trust that ankle. He said, the damage can be done. And he said, well, there's that bugger there. He said, it's me and him. And he said, I'm not going to let him have it over that he's the last one out. And the doc came over and he stuck a thermometer in my mouth and he said to me, told me about all I said, and he said, now, are you going to hold it over him because I'm going to truck him out that you're the last out? I said, no. We're here now and it's the last to go win the battalion. And I said, why? He said, well, when he took the thermometer at me, he said, I've got a cigarette lighter. And if you'd have said yes, he sort of just put the match under it, pumped your temperature up. And he said, you'd have been out in the truck too. So that's the only way. But there was just the two of us left the morning that we came out. So Ellen had brought, if he'd have started walking, if he'd have started got out on his hand knees and started to crawl out, I'd have put him up off that and we'd have carried him out. But probably a lot of us would have bloody collapsed. He wasn't going to get, that wasn't going to be on it.
So you did walk out with him, or you both walked on the truck?
No, they put him on the truck and I walked out.
You walked out?
He would have walked out, but he'd have walked out until he dropped.
So you were the last from
actually,
C Company to walk out?
Yeah, but we were there together. I walked out and he went out by truck, but we both left at the same time.
Yeah.
And we had up in Koitaki for a while and about a fortnight, 3 weeks, I think we had up there and having a rest. And we came back down to the unit and that, I can't think of it now, but anyway, it was their 2nd 9th AGH was just across the road from where we were, and one of the blokes came back one night and he said, Alan Blackwell's over there in the hospital, and he said, tell that old bugger to come over. I want to see him. So I went over that night, or the next night, at least he didn't tell me till the morning. I went over that night and asked the sister if I'd go and see him, and she said, no, you can't reach that far, because she said he went back to Australia this morning.
Oh, so you missed him?
Yeah, I missed him. I never ever caught up with him.
What happened?
All I know, he said he came from Marrickville in New South, at Sydney, and I've never been able to get a trace of him.
So after you were back in Port Moresby, the unit would have come back to Australia for leave?
Yeah, we came home. Well, we were all packed up. We thought we were coming home. Because every morning you packed up, put your pack, rolled your blanket up and your ground sheet and tied it around it. Yeah, we're heading home soon. Anyway, but what we didn't know was that the 17th Brigade, we knew the 17th Brigade was over at Ware on Salamoa, but we didn't know that we were going over to help them out.
Oh.
And if they got into trouble, we were going to be over there. But then on one Sunday, the third div landed up there, started landing. The 58th Battalion was off. So we went down and seen them and a yarn to the blokes that when we left. And on the Friday morning, we headed into Moresby onto the boat, and home we went. And old Darky Wilkinson and I went in. I lost track of Sid Gray somewhere up there. He got crook and we couldn't catch up with him anymore. And I never ever seen him again. But one of his brothers met up with a cousin of mine up at New Morella, and somehow or another my name was mentioned, and he said, where is he? He said, I thought he was dead. He said, him and my brother were good mates together, and that's after Sid, we lost tack with Sid, that I got run into Alan Blackwell. But, when we got on the boat, there was two Don Company blokes in ahead of us, and they walked in and there was 2 bunks and they big thick rubber mattresses. Now they reckoned that's it, and the crew bloke said those 2 mattresses go on the floor. So you blokes can have them, but these blokes are going to sleep on this. And now Darky said to me, where do you want to sleep, there or in that alleyway going down to the porthole? That'll do me. So he just stood the mattress in it, and I walked into it and he just pushed me. We're down on the floor, and I was sitting laying in it like that. The crew of the Dun-Troon, I think it was, they reckon it was the worst night that they'd ever had. And they were backwards and forwards to Moresby pretty often from then.
Everyone was seasick.
I wasn't seasick, no, but a few of them were, they reckon. But old Darky said to me, it never worried you. He said, I never slept the night, but he saw all you did was rock like that with a boat. But he said she'd come up like that and then dive and that way, or go up and go that way. The crew reckoned it was the worst night they'd ever had and the worst crossing. And one of the destroyers, I think it was the Arunta, but I'm not sure. It's either Arunta or Warramunga or one of those. It was that tribal class anyway, and she was just patrolling like that backwards and forwards across us. And when she came over and she'd turn, she'd fairly stand up on us in your we often expect she'd go straight down out of sight. But that was through the day, but then it really got roughened through the night. I mean. Then we come into Cairns, there were bloody lights everywhere. When we're coming home, the further south you got, the worse.
How'd you feel coming back home?
It was good.
Happy to be alive, I suppose.
It's sort of, I don't know, it's today, I don't think you didn't realise you were coming home, but you were coming home a loop to see home and see the folks. And you sort of, I don't know whether we didn't get that feeling or it's gone, you've forgotten what it was. But we left Wandekla at 8 o'clock or thereabouts on a Thursday night. We got to Brisbane at 12 o'clock Sunday. But every bloody northbound train we had to pull off the road or stop to let it go past. So I thought, oh well.
One deck was up on the table, Atherton Tablelands, and you're up there resting, recuperating.
Yeah, we finished up there about 18 months. I think we might have been still there, only the paper wanted to know where the bloody 6th Division was, and they put us in as part of that. We were supposed to go in as a brigade of the 6th Division. But
where were you when you heard the 39th had been disbanded?
I was with them. At Wandekla.
At Wandekla.
No,
Herberton.
Yeah.
What was the feeling like?
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. No, it was Wandekla because we marched around to the second thing.
Yeah. How'd you feel when you heard it had been disbanded?
I don't know. Well, I don't know how many. I suppose everyone called. Let blame me know what they thought of him, but that's about all. I think it was going to be broken up. So
what happened then? You were put into the second?
Yeah, we marched around to the second.
And that was it?
39th
was finished?
Yeah, we were finished then. Well, actually, we were told. I think Moorshead was the name of the general that come and told us. And he said she's no longer as of midday or 2 o'clock in the afternoon or some damn thing.
And then you went into the second. Were you sent overseas again?
Yeah, they went back into the
where did you go?
6th Div went to Itaby on the north coast of New Guinea, and they went through to Wewak.
And did you see any more action with the Japanese?
Yeah, they had action all the way down.
Where were you when the war ended?
Oh, inland a bit from Wewak.
I'm just going to retrack a bit. Do you remember your 21st birthday?
Yeah.
Where were you all?
We were coming in from out on Bootless Bay and coming to take over the C Company was coming in to take over the drone defences. And from A Company or B Company, I can't remember which one, but they were coming in to take them over. And the truck I was in was just crossing the drone when the 3 shots went for the air raid alert. Well, the driver plonked his foot down firm on it, and he took off. And it was a low hanging limb hit the spare wheel hit the low hanging wheel with a hell of a bang. We all said, "Oh, it's it, we're gone." But tell you what, there were some relieved people when the bloody boat when the truck didn't go up. Got into the scrub and then everybody flew out, but wasn't long before there was no air raid. It must have been a false alarm. But
when you were in New Guinea, do you remember getting any sort of entertainment or what did you do at night? How did you entertain yourselves? What activities did you do?
Wasn't much in the way of activities to do. With,
Did you play cards or
some would have played cards.
write letters home?
Be writing home and sitting down writing pad on your knees. They didn't have any of the facilities like that up there. To the YMCA huts and those sort of things. They didn't come in till later on.
Do you remember any mischief that you got into, or do you remember any of the boys getting up to any mischief, any of your mates?
No, we were pretty well behaved on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They early when I went up there early, we were on working parties. There was a few cases of grog come out. They never knocked a case off, but there was quite often a few of them got old, poured through the side of them, and a few bottles brought out. But we weren't in where you could get it for very much of the time, but even then they didn't. Not many of them got it.
How would you describe the Owen Stanley Mountains?
Bloody tough. They were hard. You found out how fit you were or how fit you weren't.
At any time did you ever get cut off from your main body?
No, I didn't. Not some of 14 platoon got cut off for a day or two, but they got back. But the main part of the C Company didn't.
So how long were you actually in New Guinea for your service?
The first time was 14 and a half months. The only reason I can argue the point of it, that was on our dog tickets. We could put a nick every week. We knew it was.
And what about the second time?
Just under 12 months.
How did you feel about your leaders?
The leave.
Your leaders, your officers. What was your feeling towards them, and how did they treat you?
Our bloke treated us like humans. He was one of us. When we were on parade, he was on parade, but once we were off parade, he was one of us. And
did you have a nickname for your lieutenant?
No, there was just he was just either the loot or his name was Whelan. He was Mr. Whelan, and you didn't have to address him as Lieutenant Whelan. And that were most of them the same. They were all like that. Noel Hall was like that with his blokes, and Alf Salmon was the same. We didn't. Our fella didn't. He didn't make it home. But, he was a hell of a nice bloke. He treated everybody the same, and he stood no mucking around. He'd pull you into gear if you started to play up or do anything wrong. And while things were going along normal, he was a good bloke. But he was a good bloke anyway with it, because if you played up, you're entitled to be pulled into gear. So.
What were the worst conditions you remembered fighting in?
Gona would have been, I don't know. Gona was awkward. It was times you'd be wet for days on end, and the same. Well, none of it was pleasant. We'll put it that way. The Owen Stanley was a mongrel of a thing. It rained rain and wet. And
what do you think is important for the younger generation to remember about the New Guinea campaigns and what the 39th contributed?
Well, if my stepson one of my stepsons said to me one day, he said, "You blokes done everything. You fellas during the war, blokes," he said, "just did a hell of a good job. The whole lot like the AIF all over, but he said, I don't think if another war come, I don't think we'd be prepared to go." And I said, "Yes, you would." I said, "I don't think any of the blokes before our war was looking forward to going to war, wanted to go to war. And I said, it'll be the same now as if another one started. I said, you blokes should go. I don't think so. He said, I said, I'm bloody sure you would. You'll be there. You know, you would let someone walk in here and just take the country over. And he said, no. I said, he said, we'd be dubious about going. I said, well, the fellas were all dubious about going. No one was itching to go to the war. But I remember one bloke saying in the second, he said, when the war started, he said, I couldn't get a job, and the depression was just starting to come out. And he said, I thought about joining, and he said, I know something like that. He did say, he said, I don't know what I can't remember what he said he did, but he said the copper was chasing him. And he said, he said, he looked like catching me, so he said, drill was open. He said, I dived you near, and he said, you bloody come out and I'll arrest you. He'd stay there and join up. So he did. He went away with the first convoy, and he said probably a lot of blokes were like that too. So
Just made the best of it.
that's all he said. I wasn't going to get pinched. He said, I don't know what I did. I can't remember what he did wrong, but it was just something simple. The cop was going to catch him and probably had a bit of cord him to give him a belt under there or something. And he said, I got quite out the road, quick, smart.
Well, that comes to the end of our interview, and on behalf of the 39th Battalion History Unit, I'd like to thank you very much for this very interesting interview. Thank you.